Alex Thomas. What's
Loos.
going on?
Chris Loos. How'd you get your name, Chris Loos? I'm interviewing you, dude. I'm just like, does it stand for Chris Los Amigos or
Nah, man, it's my
Chris
name.
Los Angeles?
No, it's really my name. It
Los
started off
is
like
really your
Los,
last
like
name?
Los Angeles. You know what I'm saying? Like Julio G actually kind of was like Los. Just
So
started
your
calling
name
me
is Los Angeles?
Yeah, Los.
Oh, okay.
That's my real, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's cool.
That's the legal name.
Oh, okay. You know, running from the feds or nothing.
Nah,
you
I'm
didn't
good,
change it up.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got a different ID number to take care of that stuff.
Your name's not really Pepe Fernandez or nothing like that, or Julio Valenzuela or some shit. Okay.
What about Alex, man? Alex Thomas or Alex
Man,
Thomas?
you know, my real name is Alexander.
Alexander?
But as a kid,
Oh,
I
that
thought
was
that was
tough.
the dumbest shit ever. Alexander Thomas. I'm like, dude, that is not gonna look good on the back of a jersey. You know, when I eventually played for the Lakers, and then I had to come to my realization I'm 5'6". I can barely touch the net. Ain't no way in the world I'm gonna play pro basketball. So
Alex, man, first I appreciate your time, man. You're the first comedian that I had to get on the
really?
series.
Really?
Sit down. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cause you got a story, man. Straight up, you from Cali.
Straight up.
My dude, I've known you for years. I've seen your grind. I've seen, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But I don't even know the extent of where it all started.
Right.
You know what I mean?
West Coast, born and raised. Not too many cats. You know, it's one of those kind of things where people can't believe I'm from LA because in the entertainment business, especially, you know, acting, comedy, everybody came from somewhere else.
Right.
Everybody. If you sit in a room full of guys, they all come to LA from other places to become, you know, rich and famous and become stars. Not a whole lot of guys came from the West Side and making some noise and making it happen in this business as far as comedy goes and you know what I mean, acting. So I'm from here, from
Where'd you
born
go
and
to school
raised.
at? Stuff out here.
I went to Fairfax High School.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I was born and raised in the hood, you know, South Central LA. Parents went to Manual Arts.
Okay.
You know what I mean? A ton of my family went to Crenshaw and Dorsey, you know, right in the neighborhood. But my parents, they sent me to like private school as a kid. Even though I was born and raised off of, you know, Adams and Exposition and over there in the 30s off of Normandy and, you know, and you know, Adams, areas like that. They bused me to an all-white private school. So they didn't want me to get caught up in the Crip and Blood stuff, you know what I mean? Like a lot of my family got caught up in. So, you know, I got teased my whole life. You know, living in the hood, coming back to the hood, and being around the white kids all day, you know, it was a tough day, you know. Kids in the neighborhood, you sound like a white boy. You act like a white boy. And I used to be like, holy cow, whatever gave you that idea? You know what I mean? Imagine coming on to South Central LA with a Def Leppard t-shirt, a hockey stick, and a Rubik's Cube. They looked at me like this dude that's completely sold out. Like, motherfucker, you got a hockey stick? Yeah, like I was playing the white boy sports. You know what I mean? I was golf, hockey, I could swim. You know what I mean? Stuff dudes in the hood just weren't doing. You know what I mean? But I thank my parents big time because that opened me up to more stuff.
Right.
You know, who knew I would end up being a comedian and one of those type of comics that can go around the world. You know, I always say I'm telling jokes from Maine to Spain. You know, I'll be in a ghetto-ass comedy room in Detroit one night, and then the next night I'll be at a snowboarding convention in Montana, killing them.
Right.
And they get it. You know what I mean? That's because I saw both sides growing up.
How did you think cracking jokes just to get through and then taking it to like a stage of you know what I'm saying, as a comedian, as an actor now?
Right.
Because it's hard to, like, you could crack jokes in the hood and be the funny dude in the hood, but then you got to be able to crack jokes in front of a room full of...
Yeah, man, and it's a completely different thing.
Right.
Everybody thinks they're funny. Everybody got a joke or two. You know, it's easy to be funny around your friends that know you, that were there when that happened. You know what I mean? That's an inside joke. Hey, Loos, we was at the car wash and old boy slipped and fell. You'll laugh because you were there at the car wash. The trick is making that crowd in Utah laugh at the car wash joke, or you know what I mean? It becomes a science, and of course, man, I never in a million years thought that it would end up being an occupation, or I never realized that telling jokes and doing stand-up was gonna end up to a career of TV and movies and seeing the world. You know what I mean? It's almost like when you hear cats that love hip hop more towards the 80s and 90s, how they always say, man, we started out as for fun. We started out, this was a hustle, make a little cash here and there, but you never thought that the world was gonna love you. You never thought that you'd be filling out 5,000 seat stadiums. You never thought that they would know your name because you're the funny guy or you that hot rapper. So that's how it happened with me, man. I didn't realize, it was gonna become my life. You know what I mean, man? To be honest with you, Loos, I started out as a dancer, dude.
Word?
I was a dancer, man. I was a hip hop my whole life. I was pop locking and break dancing. And to make a long story short, when I was 18 years old in high school, I started dancing on Soul Train. Just being a cat, going up there, trying to sneak on the stage and get on Soul Train. And that's where I met Rosie Perez. And me and Rosie Perez became best friends. And that was around the time where I was in college, and she left Soul Train to get a job on a new show called In Living Color. She did the choreography for the Fly Girls, Jennifer Lopez and all them, right? And she needed us an assistant because I knew all the hot dances, I knew all the, stuff the streets was doing, and I kind of like mixed that in with Rosie, and I became her assistant to the Fly Girls the first 2 years of In Living Color.
Oh, that's dope.
So that's where I met Damon Wayans and Keenen Ivory Wayans. And they were like, dude, you could dance, but you a fool. You need to be doing stand-up comedy. I was always silly. And like I said, high school, class clown, best achiever, but I was like, for a living. And I was in college and I needed a job. So she was breaking me off doing choreography. They were like, you need to be on stage. It will open up doors and you can get paid. I was like, comedians get paid? They were like, look at us. And the rest was history. 3-4 weeks later, I started doing stand-up. That was like 92, 93. And dude, the Wayans family are the ones that got me into stand-up. And stand-up opened up the world for me. And 2 years later, I know I got a crazy story. 2 years later, still as an amateur, not really making no money, that's where I met Will Smith. And Will Smith came to amateur night at the Laugh Factory and saw me. And I guess I stood out. And he was like, dog, came off stage, he was like, dog, hey man, my name is, I'm like, I know who you are. My name. Told him, my name. He's like, dude, he goes, I love your stuff, man. It was 2 years in the stand-up, really wasn't making no money or nothing, $50 here, $75 there. He was like, do you write? And I was like, man, I write my own stuff. He's like, man, I always wanted to do stand-up, man. And if I did comedy, it'd be the kind of style that you're doing. Hey man, I got this new show called The Fresh Prince. I was like, dog, I know the name of your show. I watch it every Monday night,
Yeah.
He's like, man, you think you can come down and help us out on the show? I was like, what do you mean? Like, he's like, like writing, like coming up with some funny stuff for me or, helping us with the writing. I was like, yeah. He's like, what do you think you can come down? I was like, dude, I will meet you there right now. I'll spend the night. Meet you there in the morning. Dude, and the next day, I was there at the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and that led to me being a writer on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air for 3 seasons. So that opened up my relationship. So people always hear when I talk about Will in my interviews, they always say, like, you always talk about Will Smith. You talk about Will Smith because he gave me my start. You know what I mean? He took me, I'll never forget, he took me from making, $75 a gig, $50 a gig, to he paid me out of his pocket $500 a week. I got the checks to prove it and set me off to the races. So people always ask me, how'd you become a writer on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? How do you write on TV shows? And I'm like, dude, I couldn't even tell you. I don't even know the route. It was just a right place at the right time type story. And that led to everything, man. I got about 200 scripts from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know what I mean? From just, writing on the shows and learning. It was basically on-the-job training. He just threw me in the pit with the writer staff, and I just learned.
GG.